race season is here, and you want to show up to the race prepared and ready to go so you're a performing, winning engine that's going to take the whole shot and grab the wins. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to get race ready, especially the week of the race, because it's very confusing. How much work should I do? What should I do? And how should I do it? Let's go. Let's chat. Let's go. Let's talk about it. The race season is here. All right, testing 1 2 1 2. Welcome to a quick Monday night edition of BMX Coach Live. I'm your host, three-time Olympic coach Greg Romero, and man, it was a great day today, feeling really good, and it's great to see all your smiling faces showing up for the live session. Usually we do Tuesdays, but today I need to do Monday because tomorrow on Tuesday I have an event and I'm not going to be able to go live. So I figured I'd just go live and see what happens. It looks like a lot of people are showing up, and let's see how the stream is operating. It looks like it's very, very healthy. Doesn't look like we have any technicalities. Is it live or is it Memorex? Let's see what's going on here. Man, hope you guys are doing well. Did everything work a-okay? Someone said, is it Memorex? Yeah, my intro is pretty much pre-recorded. I literally did that 5 minutes ago. Just how I operate. But man, would it be helpful for you guys to understand how to get ready for the week of a race? Would you guys find that helpful? Man, I tell you what, I wish I would have found it helpful when I was racing, especially in my earlier years, especially when, even just going to like the local state race or racing a regional or getting ready for the Gold Cup or getting ready for the state championship or the state qualifier or a national. There's so many races to be had for you guys, and it gets really confusing. For a lot of you guys that are high performance, and I'm going to presuppose that if you guys are watching this channel and you guys are live and a lot of these regulars that are showing up, I'm going to presuppose that you guys are putting in the work week in, week out, and also at the same time want to get the edge and get an unfair competitive advantage, tapering and getting ready and peaking for the important race of the weekend, whether it's a 3-day national or it's a state qualifier or state championship on Sunday. Man, we want to get you guys prepared and leave any uncertainty, doubt, right, of being prepared behind you. And if not, making sure that you're heading towards certainty and knowing that you guys are ready to go. Okay. So, I want to burn through this really quickly. I don't think it's going to take too long. One of the things I want to talk about here in a moment, the secrets to getting race ready. I'm going to share with you guys like 3 different secrets that I personally use for my Olympic athletes. And it's pretty much almost like a template that we use, whether we're getting ready for a World Cup, a national, Olympic trials, and also the Olympic Games. And I've, 2 out of 3 Olympic trials, I've had 2 of my personal athletes win the Olympic trials, and it's such a tough race to win, just the week of, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, like those 4 bodies, and making sure all of those bodies are dialed in and ready to go. I want to get you guys really dialed in, ready to go. And at the same time, I want to simplify it in a way that you guys can understand and give you guys information that you can actually integrate, because that's the thing, man. At the end of the day, information is only as good as you can integrate it. And over here at BMX Training, on behalf, I'm here to help you integrate it. And man, you'd be very surprised on how I keep it simple. That being said, number 1, I want to talk about specificity. What to do the week of a race. Well, again, we talked about presupposing that you're getting ready for that race in advance, like ideally, you guys want to be getting ready at least minimum 21 days in advance. That's in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong. I've gotten away with getting ready in advance 4 or 5 days away from the race, but that's when I was in high school, I was playing football, and, I was doing running sprints, I was lifting, I was doing plyometrics, I was doing a lot of explosive work, and it was easily transferred onto the bike. the one thing I had to do was just jump on the bike and configure the skills. And, I would say by the time I was playing high school football, 17 years old, I probably had I had at least 10 years of experience racing a bicycle. So it's not like, hey, you know what, man, like I've never raced BMX before, or I've only been racing in a couple of years and I'm just going to jump on the bike and go for it. That would be risky. I would definitely suggest that you would want more time. But getting back to specificity, which I think is really, really important here, a couple things. And I think specificity is going to happen from, a rudimentary level all the way to a pro level. Okay. So what does that mean? That means at the pro level, we'll start from the top down. At the pro level, okay, we're going to assume that you have mastered your skills. You have mastered your gaits, mastered all the fundamental skills of manualing, pedal manualing, jet hops. You guys, well, we call them jet hops, but tap manuals, jumping, rhythm section, endurance, everything, power, strength, everything that you need to get from the gate, grabbing the whole shot and holding that lead all the way to the finish line. Assuming all those things are covered, the one thing that you want to focus on truly at the highest level of pro really is going to be the engine, right? You want to make sure that the engine is dialed. Because if the engine's dialed, then those skills that you need to perform, gate starts, second pedal delivery, acceleration delivery, pedal efficiency, jumping efficiency, all those things are really going to show up if you're feeling strong, if you're ready, if you're peaked, if you have removed fatigue. Okay, we'll get to that here in a moment. So that being said, at the top level, the pro level, it's going to come down to a lot more physical preparation, making sure that you're recovered, making sure that, and we'll talk about this here in a moment, but making sure that you're hitting everything in terms of your frequency. Now, if we'll go all the way down to the bottom, right? If you're like, say you're an intermediate getting ready for a big race, because I don't know if beginners really get ready for a big race. I mean, every weekend's a big race, right? As a beginner, if you guys can recall a time when you guys were a beginner, in the first few months of racing, every race is a big race. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to ride your bike because for the most part, and this is the truth, you're incompetent when it comes to riding the bike and racing the bike and trying to manage the physicality and the emotional and mental capacities. So what you're trying to do at the intermediate level is that you guys are just trying to get tuned up with your skills, right? Being able to be comfortable riding the track, being able to get through the rhythm section, being able to get through the first straight, more importantly, right? So gate starts, first straight skills, getting through the rhythm section, those skills are, as a universal truth, those are the most important, okay? And then as you level up, you're going from intermediate into the expert category. And then it's weird, like when you get into the expert category, you really have, maybe for the most part, I see two different types of experts. A top level expert that has truly mastered their skills. They have a good gate start, okay? A good to great gate start. They have a good to great gate start. That's really hard to say. And then they also have competent skills to get through the first straight, turning skills, jumping skills, manualing skills, rhythm section skills, and of course, physical skills such as power endurance and obviously some specificity when it comes to gate start, acceleration, power. And so when it comes to these kind of riders that are both, a new expert and more advanced expert, the new expert is going to need to focus on obviously making sure that their skills are dialed and that they're comfortable and they're confident and they know what to do. And then secondly, they're going to make sure that their engine's prepped. When it comes to the expert, the upper advanced expert, they're operating more like a pro. Okay. Now, when I say an upper expert, we can look at any age range truly from 8 to 18 years old, if you will, right? In your teens. And I would say that Definitely gate starts are going to be important. And I would say that's pretty much important for everybody. And getting some kind of sprint session in. Okay. That's really, truly important. And I think that sprint session is it's going to be really specific in terms of that physicality, that ability to accelerate. Because when you show up, you want your legs to be firing. You want them to be light, not heavy. You want to be firing as opposed to not firing, right? You don't want to show up with heavy legs that don't fire. That is going to be a miserable weekend. Not that you couldn't turn it around as the weekend progresses and that your legs turn on, okay? But getting back to specificity here, especially for experts, is it's going to come down to making sure that you're very specific in terms of doing gates. And I would say this obviously for intermediates, the two types of experts, getting your gate starts in and getting your sprint training in. Now, if you're an older expert who lifts weights, and even younger ones, but we'll get to the young ones here in a moment. But for some of you older experts that lift weights, and you guys are consistently lifting weights, definitely you definitely want to get some explosive movements in, okay? And we're not talking about getting into the gym and doing 20 reps of your body weight in squats, right? We're talking about getting into more high performance specific demands as it pertains to power output. So that means 85% of your 1 rep max, and maybe doing a set where you get up to that working set, right, of 85%. So you do your warm up, you keep the warm up really short and light, get up to 85%. You only do 1 set and you only maybe do 2 reps. That's it. And then you're done. We call it pretty much turning the engine on, revving the gas pedal, and then shutting it off. Okay. Now that's what we did, at each Olympic Games and before Olympic trials and of course World Cups. Like when we go to the Olympic Games, we specifically get into the gym. We get into the gym no less than 4 days out from race day. Okay. So when we get into the gym, we do a brief and brisk warm up. Okay. And then we pick maybe 2 exercises. So we'll do a plyometric exercise, and then we'll do some kind of triple extension exercise, whether it's, a speed squat, a speed deadlift, maybe a box squat. It just depends on the needs of the athlete and what they're feeling like doing. But for the most part, we try to get at least some kind of explosive movement, full body, plyometrics, and some kind of heavy lift. All right. And then we're in and out probably less than 45 minutes. We're not going to the gym, spending 2 hours working on hypertrophy and leaving it all on the table. And I think that's the problem with today. And I would say actually, in sport specifically, in all the major sports, that's what they're doing. They're using the gym as a tool for activation, right? Reminding, doing the frequency, maintenance work of high performance. We're not talking about building. All the building is already done. Building meaning that you're putting in the work prior with more volume and of course, more frequency. So more volume, frequency, you're doing that days before the event. Okay, so are we getting somewhere? Are you guys finding this helpful? Specificity is super important. Now, at the same time, you don't want to be going out and jogging, right? You don't want to be jogging. You don't want to be riding your skateboard, and you don't want to go surfing. You don't want to go snowboarding the week of a race. That's not really specific. You want to keep it specific as it pertains to your program, the program that's leading you up to your race day, right? Those weeks prior are really important, okay? Again, we talked about 21 days in advance is a minimum in terms of trying to elicit any kind of peak performance, right? A quick build and a quick taper. That's what we're looking for in 21 days. 21 days isn't a whole lot, really, truly, at the end of the day, when you really look at the big picture of preparation. But certainly, if you do it correctly, you guys can get a lot out of it. Let's talk about training frequency, okay? And I think this is really important because I think that's where you guys get really confused in terms of oh, what should I do the week of a race, right? Well, we just talked about specificity. So really, I'm just going to probably, repeat myself here more. But training frequency is really, what are you doing the week of the, what are you doing the weeks before the race, right? So like week 1, week 2, week 3 is the race. In week 1, if you got a split where you're doing, strength work, gait work, sprint work, rest, gait work, sprint work, and then gym work, and then maybe a track session. Look, out of that, I got 6 out of 7 days with 1 day of rest. Now, my top athletes, they're getting 2 days of rest because they're also doing 2 sessions a day. A lot of you guys don't have it like that. Some of you guys are going to school, and most of us work. So, we're mainly getting training sessions once a day, which is totally fine, which is totally great, because at the end of the day, it's a full-time job to train twice a day, and not everyone, listen, it's going to hurt you more if you train twice a day, 5 days a week. Now, don't get me wrong, I have some of my adult athletes, I have some of my young athletes train twice a day, but at the same time, sometimes both of those training sessions, they're just back to back, right? It's kind of like if you brush, you're going to floss your teeth. Those are 2 different things. Those are 2 workouts. It's not like we're doing some big morning workout and then some big evening workout. We're just doing like, maybe sprints right after a gym session, or plyometrics after a gait start session at home. Okay. Anyways, when it comes to training frequency, let's stay on track here. Training frequency is that you pretty much want to replicate what you're doing the week before. So let's say a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're doing a gym session, a track session, and a sprint session, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, respectively. Well, the week of the race, you kind of want to, well, not kind of, you actually really want to replicate what you're doing before on those same 3 days of the week of, okay? So training frequency is really important. It's not really hard to figure out. Keep that frequency the same. It's super important. You don't want to switch it up and start doing 3 gate start sessions in a row, and then you're missing the ability to program and remind and maintain strength, and also to maintain sprinting ability. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you in the chat. Next, the third one we want to speak about. Ta-da! Training volume, and I have a video in there. Hopefully it's not playing. Let me double check. Okay, cool. We're good. Volume. Okay, so what's volume? Is it the volume of, is it that kind of volume? Is it volume when I get loud? No. Well, yes and no, but volume is the amount of work, and I think that's where people miss the mark the week of a race. Oh, wow, the race is here. We're going to do more. I mean, I remember in the past, we're talking old school, right? Old school. We're talking like late 90s, early 2000s. It's like, oh, the Grand National is coming up. We got to ramp up for it and do a bunch of work. Man, no. You know what? You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to be fatigued, and it's sometimes going to be, it's not going to work out. But that's not to say that you shouldn't do a bunch of work. It's all about being smart in terms of the volume of work in the weeks prior, right? Those volumes have to make sense. They have to complement each other in an effort to adapt, right? So when it comes to training, it's all about imposing a demand and then adapting to that demand, right? Now, the problem is the week of a race, if you try to impose more than you're used to, then you're going to be tired. You're going to be fatigued. And let's get it straight. When it comes to volume, it's all about keeping the intensity high, number one, right? So it's not like, we're going to go into the gym and cut the weight in half and just do light weight. Now, if you do that, you better be moving that weight fast, and you better be keeping those reps low, but you better be exploding as fast as you can. Move that weight as fast as you can. So what does that mean? That means something like, a 50% banded speed box squat. A banded speed box squat at 45% of your 1RM with some bands. Yeah, it's lightweight, but the intensity is high. You're exploding as if you're coming out of the gate. You're exploding as if you're coming as if you're exploding your feet off the pedals, getting into that second, third, fourth crank all the way to the 30-foot mark, all the way down to the bottom of the starting hill. And then, of course, when it comes to volume, you want to keep the volume low. You don't need to do a whole lot. You're just trying to turn on the engine, give it a couple revs, and be done with it. I had a big epiphany. I had an aha moment when I raced in an awesome track called Rockford. Now, you know, if any of you guys have raced Rockford, give me a thumbs up. I'm curious. Excuse me. Coming into the chat, I'm just going to say a quick hello to Days Rock, Robert Cardoza, Jack Baker's back, Miller Castilla, Infamous Tactical, a couple people, Marley BMX, and a couple people are in there. Looks like we got about, I don't know, around 26 concurrent viewers. This is great. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Was talking about Rockford. I had an epiphany when I was pro, and what had happened was I didn't really feel great the week of the race, and I would say the week before the week of the race. So I didn't really feel good. Didn't have a whole lot of good training, and I remember I was on the road and I did some sprints on a Thursday, and we were racing on Saturday. So I didn't even practice Friday because Rockford back then wasn't technical. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm a pro. I should know how to do a gate. Should know how to race Rockford. I'll get warm. I'll use Friday as an extra day of rest. And Saturday, I'll just show up, do my warm up, go through my personal warm up routine, and then do my warm up on the track, be configured and ready to go. And it worked out well. And I'll tell you what happened. What I did was on a Thursday, I just said, you know what? I need to do some specific sprints as it pertains to the specificity of Rockford. And Rockford was like really flat, required a lot of torque out of the gate, and then it went kind of pseudo uphill to the first jump, and you had to pedal through that, and then you had to keep pedaling, and you were topped out hitting your top RPM right before the second jump. And then after that, you hit this jump, and there was just a lot of pedaling down that first straight. A lot. I think I quantified, I don't know, I think it was like eight to nine full cranks. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was a lot, because your typical first jump is about 75 feet. That's only 5 full cranks, right? We talked about this at the last episode. The 30-foot mark is really only 2 full cranks, 2 full revolutions. Every one revolution is 15 feet. You get 2 full revolutions to get to the bottom of the starting hill. So all those pedals got to count. Anyways, what I did was I did some very specific sprints that were really hard because I did a stand-start style, and I probably went about that same length on flat ground for 10 full cranks. And they really winded me because they were the sprints were really long. And so what I did was I did high intensity, went very specific. And then what I did was I rested. I got more rest in between each sprint. And I only did 4 sprints. And I think it took me about, the total workout was probably 45 minutes, 10-minute warm up, sprint number 1, sprint number 2. Obviously the sprints are really short, but really it came down to the rest in between the sprints. And I rested probably anywhere from a good 8 to 10 minutes in between each sprint. Now, was it a big risk doing sprints 2 days out? Yes, absolutely. Excuse me. And what had happened was I absolutely destroyed it. I won every class. I won every pro class. I doubled one AA pro or elite, whatever you guys are calling it today, and I won open. And I had an epiphany where I actually pre-programmed the specificity of that first straight 48 hours in advance. It was awesome. Okay. Didn't do a big training session, right? Didn't go out there for an hour and a half. I didn't smash gates. I didn't get into the gym 2 days prior. I went very specific. I worked on my acceleration because I knew in the pro class on that track at Rockford, it's all pedaling. It came down to who was going to accelerate, you know? And of course, in the pro class and a lot of your guys' classes, especially at the national level, 80% of the races are won by grabbing the hole shot. You got to grab the hole shot. You got to get out. You got to get ahead. You got to get your elbow over the competition. And that's what I was really focusing on. I was focusing on programming the neurological, the muscular together, mating those two together, as well as the emotional and the mental and the visual, which is part of the mental, and really truly programming the specificity. 2 days out, gave myself a day of rest on Thursday. I did the sprints on Thursday, gave myself a day of rest on practice day, which was Friday. And then boom, went out Saturday and killed it. And so again, I didn't go out and spend a full day at the trails. I wasn't doing a bunch of half lap, full lap work. And you know, that's a thing, man. I see it happening a lot, right? You guys are coming up to a 3-day national where you guys race on, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're also practicing Thursday. If you guys are high-end experts, listen, you may not need to practice on Thursday. You guys are experts. You guys know how to get a gate. You guys know how to execute your skills. You guys are competent. Just show up, rested, fresh, ready to go. Get a great warm up in on the day of race day. I was going to say rest day. And yeah, get a great warm up on the day of race day, that first day, and just go into the weekend fresh and open everything up. And as the weekend progresses, you're going to actually get faster. Now, when it comes to these 3-day weekends, which is happening a lot here in America, you guys are coming in and practicing Thursday, racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 4 days in a row. I rarely have my athletes train more than 3. So it makes it really tough. Now, what I would say is on that Thursday, if you are going to practice, keep the volume low. Keep the volume low. That's key, right? You guys don't need to go out there and smash, you know, 5 full laps, right? Maybe you guys do a couple gates to figure out the timing, figure out the first straight, figure out the rhythm section, get familiar with the track. That shouldn't take you longer than 20 minutes. Be done with it. Okay, get some rest and get recovered for the opening day 1, which will be Friday. And I would say on the Wednesday prior, which is probably a travel day, sometimes travel days on Thursday, and you might miss practice. No big deal. Get rest. Rest. When in doubt, get rest, especially if you're if you're a top level expert. But if you guys are practicing Thursday and you guys, you know, travel and practice on Thursday, definitely get some rest on Wednesday. Go into that weekend fresh. Monday, Tuesday could be your specificity days, right? Those days could be reserved for gates and sprints and explosive work if you're doing gym work. All right. You guys got any questions for me? Looks like Darren Ross says, just checking in. Sean M says, what's up? He looks like he has some questions. We're going to go straight into Ask Coach G live here in a moment. Man, I'm really grateful for you guys to show up. It's such an honor to be your guys' coach. And again, Monday, President's Day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying the holiday. Certainly I did. I did a little cold plunging today. Feeling good, feeling great. And looking forward tomorrow. Tomorrow I got an event in real estate. So I needed to get this live done. And you know what? I am super dedicated to helping you guys and making sure my community is doing well when it comes to your BMX racing, man. Because, you know, I wish I had someone like myself when I was racing. All right. So, guys, get the questions going. We're going to go into a break. And I'll see you guys here right after the break. Hey guys, I have a question. What would it do for you if you could enhance your power out of the gate, enhance your sprint speed down the first straight, enhance your skills, enhance your mental performance mind state? What would that do for your racing or your kids' racing? If you're seeing the value of enhancing your BMX performance, consider joining the community of BMX Training Pro and get the same access my Olympic athletes have enjoyed, as well as thousands of BMXers all over the world. Some members use the access to improve their gate start techniques. Some also use the access to keep them motivated to train, and you'll find your reason when you gain access and join BMX Training Pro today.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now.
Nitro with the nice flow.
Stay Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now. Let's go. Stay focused, hear the heat come. Concentrate to the sound of the beat drum. Yeah. Start it up, take it back now. Check it out. This is how it's going down. Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to Ask Coach G section. One of my favorite sections because, you know, you guys tell me what you guys want to learn. And man, I really do appreciate you guys showing up and putting me to the test here. We got a question coming up right off the hop. Looks like Ariel XS says, what do you do to curb nervousness at the gate during nationals? Great question. You know, we've answered that in the past. And at the end of the day, nervousness is just the same physicality as excitement. That's right. Nervousness is just the same physicality as excitement. So it all really comes down to reframing that nervousness, right? Sometimes we get nervous because we are uncertain, or we may have doubt, or we may have fear. Nervousness is just putting you into that fight or flight mode, right? It's basically norepinephrine, which is adrenaline, saying, hey, get ready. You're getting ready. You're going to get into the gate. So you have to look at it as, okay, cool. This just means I'm getting ready. This means I am ready, right? So you want to focus on what you want as opposed to what you don't want. Really, truly, at the end of the day. If you focus on what you don't want, I don't want to get motoed, I don't want to get crashed, I don't want to get hurt, then that's going to inhibit you from performing well. So in an effort to elicit the best performance, especially when you're nervous, you want to look at it as, you want to be able to reframe that as excitement and then look towards what you want. I'm getting my good gait. I'm smashing the first straight. I'm grabbing the whole shot. I'm taking first place. Okay. So it really comes down to redirecting that energy, redirecting that adrenaline, because you are in fight or flight. And when it comes to fight or flight, you have two choices. You can either run or you can fight, right? Now, fighting is sometimes not good, right? So you want to be able to find that happy medium for yourself. And I'll tell you a great way to do it. What I would do is get some cold water, fill up your bathtub with cold water, okay? Make sure you take a excuse me, fill up your bathtub with water. Make sure it's cold water. Take a thermometer, make sure that it's below 59 degrees. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go into that tub and fully submerge yourself, okay? And boom, right off the hop, what's gonna happen is your brain's gonna be like, whoa, this is a shock. What's happening? Fight or flight. Your brain's going to be dumping norepinephrine, okay, which is adrenaline. It's going to put you in fight or flight mode. Something's going to be telling you you need to get out. Adrenaline, fight or flight, it's really good, especially if the house is on fire, because it's important for you to get the hell out of the house and run, right? Grab the dog, grab your significant other, grab the kids, grab whoever's in the house, and get out. Adrenaline's good. It's important. The problem is that our body doesn't understand if the house is on fire or if you're getting into the gate for a main event at the Olympics. So you have to train yourself to deal with norepinephrine, adrenaline, fight or flight, being able to operate when things get stressful, right? When fear and doubt and uncertainty come into play, how quickly can you reframe that and be like, you know what? It's just a BMX race. Come back to the breath. That's why I say jump into the cold plunge, a cold tub, take a cold shower, jump into your cold swimming pool, and just try to be in there for at least 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. There's some awesome physical benefits for that as well. But at the end of the day, the cold tub therapy thing, which I just started doing even more frequently. I've been doing a cold plunge at around 40 degrees. You jump in there and it's like, whoa, this is cold. I want to get out. And we had a talk with some of the instructors that have coached us through cold plunge therapy. And they're like, a lot of these CrossFit guys, they think they can come in, they can fight it, and they can out muscle it. I'm gonna, come in and wad the freaking cold plunge. It doesn't work. They jump right out. They're the first ones out. The guys that are able to relax and embrace the stress, the ones that can get back to the breath, the ones that can get back to the present moment, okay? Those are the guys that are going to operate under duress, under perceived stress, under that perceived nervousness, under that perceived fight or flight, under the norepinephrine just dumping. Okay? Great way, easy way to train the brain. Easy way, all right? Thank you very much for that question. I think that was an awesome one. Let's go to the next. What do you say? What else do we have? Jack Baker. Let's see. I think this is a comment. Mike English. I apply everything into my cycling wheelhouse. These sprint tips will be implemented into the uphill intervals. Great, right? Awesome. Let's see. What else do we have here? Miller Castilla says, hey, Greg, I turned out to be vet pro. I am back on racing. Sorry. I think you're like, I might need to rephrase your I know what you're saying, and I'm not gonna give you any spelling or grammar tips because I'm far from being perfect on that. But I need to read this in a way that it makes sense for me and everyone else. Hey, Greg, I turned vet pro. I'm back to racing after some years off my bike, and I find it hard to get my pedaling speed as I did before. What can I do to improve? Great question. Pedaling speed where? Is it going to be acceleration out of the gate to the first jump? Or is it going to be more specifically from the first jump all the way into the first turn where pedaling speed is usually at its greatest? Okay. Or is it going to be pedaling speed, say, coming out of the last turn? Because that's a whole different metabolic energy and it's a whole different power curve demand. So really at the end of the day, it really all depends on where we're at on the track. Now, if we're going to talk about a BMX sprinting race, well, we might as well address the gate to the first jump and the entire first straight. So in terms of improving pedaling speed, when it comes to accelerating to the first jump, definitely you want to go for flat sprints, short sprints, keep them short, keep them specific. And I would do, 5 full cranks from a stand start. Stand start could be, putting your handlebar up against a pole and sprinting off. Or you could do a box sprint, right? Some kind of stand start sprint where you have to overcome the inertia. The inertia is dead weight that you're trying to overcome, okay? That's overcoming inertia, overcoming dead weight, okay? So it takes a great amount of force and velocity to accelerate from a stand start. Now, if we're talking about increasing your pedaling speed, say, I don't know, after the first jump all the way into the first corner, then we definitely want to focus on top end leg speed. Top end leg speed could be anything where you're going slightly downhill to a steep downhill. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise our physical capability of how fast we can pedal, especially beyond your average flat first straight track, right? Most first straights are flat for the most part, right? Sometimes they're a little bit downhill, right? From the first jump all the way going into the first turn. Black Mountain in Arizona sometimes like that. I think Oldsmar's like that. But for the most part, a lot of these tracks, they're flat. So you want to be able to raise that RPM, that cadence ceiling. And that way, when you get to the race, okay, you're used to spinning out, but in this case, you're actually not spun out, but you're on top of the gear. Okay, you're on top of the gear and you're in front of the gear as opposed to being behind the gear. Being behind the gear means basically being behind the gear basically means you don't have the speed of discharge, the velocity to stay on top of the pedal for the demand of the area of the track that you're trying to pedal. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Thank you very much. Darren Ross is showing up. Cool. Once again, guys, we're always doing the super chat thing. If you guys want to donate to the channel, help keep the lights on, man, we're very, very grateful for you guys to do. Any donation is greatly appreciated, even if it's a few bucks. And if you guys donate, I'll definitely get to your question. Absolutely. Let's see here. We have Darren Ross. Darren Ross says, I'm going to Gator Nationals this weekend. How do you adjust to a super track hill? Because the transition at the bottom is so instant It feels like it compresses my body into my shoes, causing me to back off. Yeah, great question. Now, Darren, I'm going to presuppose that you're talking about the 5-meter starting section, not the 8-meter, correct? And so, yeah, that little yeah, when you guys go to a world championship style track that has a 5-meter heel and you're going really fast, and then at the bottom there's kind of a kink there. Listen, you guys are dealing with compression, right? And that compression is almost the same as a G-force compression, right? Like we quantified with a power meter that had accelerometers on the 8-meter starting hill, the Olympic starting hill. When you get to the bottom and you pump the bottom, it's like 2.5 times your body weight, which is a lot. That is a lot, because at the elite level, you definitely want to be able to squat 2.5 times your body weight, right? So, that means if, you're 200 pounds, do the math. 2.5 times your body weight is 450, okay? And that's the kind of force you're taking on. So when it comes to the 5-meter, I don't know what the G-force demand is in terms of the compression at the bottom. But definitely, a heavy squat would be good, right? Depth jumps would be great, right? That's the one that comes to my mind. So I would get probably on a box anywhere from, I don't know, I would say probably at least 16 inches tall, and get on the box and just step off and then land in an athletic position, okay? That's a depth jump. That's going to shock the nervous system. And at the same time, that's going to totally prepare you for the G-force demand that you're going to experience when you have to pump the transition at a world championship style starting hill. Say that 3 times fast. All right. That's a great one, man. Thank you. Wolf Fuentes, he said he donates in the super chat. Props, man. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Looks like he has a question. He says, "Baby lemon with pom-poms in his hands cheerleading." Okay, that's I actually read what the emoji is. Forgive me. Wolfie Fuentes says, "Thank you for the training tips." Hey, thank you so much for showing up and allowing me and the opportunity to be your coach, man. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Truly, I really am. Man, gratitude goes a long ways, and I'm grateful for you guys. Marley BMX says, "Good track day routines while getting ready for nationals." Yeah, let's do that one. Marley BMX asks, "What are some good track day routines while getting ready for nationals?" Now, we talked about specificity, right? Now, when it comes to intermediates and experts and advanced experts, listen, gate starts and sprints are going to be king. Gate starts are going to get you out of the gate, right? Gate starts are going to get you out of the gate, being very specific because you guys are sprinting and, the race is all about getting out of the gate and getting ahead of the competition and grabbing the whole shot straight up. Right? Especially when you're racing against guys that you don't really know or you don't race often, you want to get out in front. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that you touch on that skill, doing gate starts, working on your reaction, power and timing, and your acceleration. You want to be working on your reaction, timing, power, and acceleration. The other thing that you want to do in terms of complementing that, you definitely want to get in a session of sprints the week of a race. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, and I really think that you guys could do 2 types of sprints, and you don't have to do a whole lot of these sprints. Number 1, do stand-start sprints. Keep them short, keep it sweet. Probably don't need to do more than 3 to 5 sprints, and keep them short in terms of keep it short around 5 full cranks, the same distance from the gate all the way to the first jump. And then I would make sure I would get some top end leg speed sprints, some maximum effort sprints where you're working on that top end leg speed cadence from the first jump going all the way into the first turn. And that way you guys show up to the race and you guys are firing all cylinders down that first straight. And at the end of the day, if you guys are traveling, the race is down the first straight up. If you guys are racing locally, sometimes the race isn't down the first straight necessarily because there's not a whole lot of people there. And what you can do is you guys have an opportunity to race from behind. But when you guys go to the national level, then there's more people that are capable of getting around the track really fast. And it's really, really hard to make up ground when you're racing more experienced racers. So it's really important for you guys to fine tune that first straight. The gate start, your gate start timing, acceleration and reaction power, and your first jump acceleration and your top end leg speed down that first straight. And of course, don't overlook your first straight jumping skills. Okay. I'm getting excited over here, man. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys. Those are two things. I would really, really keep it simple. Now, that's not to say that you don't want to do rhythm straight work. You don't want to do turn work. Definitely, you definitely want to carve out, 20 minutes where you guys reconfigure your ability to get down a long rhythm section, competent, fast, and snappy. Okay, competent, fast, and snappy. And at the same time, it probably wouldn't hurt to do at least a couple half laps to make sure that the specificity of your power endurance is turned on. Okay, because that could also be a problem. If you guys don't have the power endurance, what good is it for you guys to get out front only to, be able to go only 75% of your potential power, from the first turn all the way to the finish line? I've done that before. It's tough, right? Like you get out front and all of a sudden everyone's going by you. Now, I've also have coached riders that they're like, you know what? I'll take that bet every time, right? I'll be happy to get out front and hold people off. And I don't blame them because, at the end of the day, especially at the national level and the harder expert classes, it's really hard to come from behind. So yeah, it always behooves you to get out. It always behooves you to get out in front at the race because at the end of the day, that's where the race is at. All right. Where are we at? 7:20. All right, we'll go 10 more minutes and then I got a jet. Let's see, are there any other questions up top here? Food on race day. Okay, we got that one. I saw that twice. I think we'll do that one. Explain to them how important mental fitness is along with regular fitness. Track riding from Robert Cordoza. Okay, so we'll do food and some mental fitness stuff. Everything else I think we covered. Jack Baker and also Jordan Ashbrook, food on race day. We'll go with Jack, and also thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jordan Ashbrook, for asking the question as well. Food on race day. Jack Baker says as well, what should I eat before, during, and after a race? Okay, so before the race, are we talking like the morning? During the race, okay, so obviously that's throughout the race day, and then after the race is going to be your post race. That's going to be your post-event meal. So we're talking about the day of, your pre-event meal, your competition meal, and then your post-event meal. Okay. Well, listen. At the end of the day, let's start with the basics. You don't want to eat heavy proteins and fats to where your body has to spend a lot of time digesting and when I mean time, I mean energy, right? You don't want to be able to, you don't want to eat steak and eggs in the morning of a race. That just doesn't make any sense. Let's go more specific. And listen, I'm not a registered dietitian here, so I'm going to go off of what I have intimately advised my athletes. We like oatmeal, straight up. Oatmeal has carbs, it has protein. You can add a little bit of fat, you can add a little bit of sugar, you can add fat with butter, you can add a little bit of sugar with bananas, blueberries, and granola. Okay, that's pretty good. And me personally, I've always liked eggs. I've always liked oatmeal if they had it, but if they had instant oatmeal, then I might as well just go for the pancakes because they tasted better. And then I would do a protein right after that, eggs. Okay, that's me personally. Kids, if they can eat granola, older adults, you guys are in a hotel and you guys don't have time to eat, get something in right away when you wake up in the hotel. If you guys can have some kind of granola and maybe a piece of fruit, boom, you guys are off to the races. Perfect. Get something into your system right away. I think that's what's really important when you wake up on race day. Get fuel right away because your body has been starved the entire time. Okay. It's been fasting the entire time from the last meal all the way through the night through sleep. and as you wake up, you've been fasting. So it's important to start bringing up those glycogen levels, right, in the liver, etc. If you guys are into keto and whatnot, that's a whole nother ball of wax. So we're going to talk about a general diet, one that likes carbs, just like myself. Listen, I think carbs are great, especially for BMX, because at the end of the day, we're sprinting athletes. We're utilizing glycogen, so carbohydrates are our friend. And I know people can argue that, but we're not here to debate that. During the race, and I would say at the end of the day, it just depends, right? Like, are you capable of having a meal during race day? Now, it really comes down to how long is the race day. If you're at the Grands, you're there all day, and you got plenty of time to eat. So you can almost conceivably have a normal lunch. Now, that normal lunch doesn't need to be too complex. Maybe a chicken sandwich or something, a combination of carbohydrates and protein and low fat. Really, really simple. Me personally, if it's like, a half, if I'm there for, 8 hours, I like to eat every 2 hours. That's just my personal preference. And what I'll do is I'll eat small meals, like a peanut butter and honey sandwich, right? Carbohydrates, a little bit of fat, a little bit of sugar. My body's not going to spend a whole lot of time, whole lot of energy in terms, like, I'm not going to get tired from eating it. Okay, that's my point. But if the race day gets longer, then yeah, if you can afford to get a little protein in, it doesn't have to be a whole lot. Now, if you're in the mode of like, okay, quarters, semis, finals are coming up, simple sugars are your friend, right? Simple sugars, things that can easily digest, fruit. I even personally I like these little Stroop waffles. They're like little mini waffles. They have sugar, they have carbohydrates, really easy to chew on. Even if you're under duress or some kind of stress, you could still chew on it very easily and effortlessly. I know for kids, if you guys are parents watching this or you're a young kid, listen, eat anything that they're comfortable eating. Really, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to take, even if it's like candy, okay? Now, when I say candy, maybe it's something like a Snickers bar, right? Something that has a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat. You don't want to just give them straight up gummy bears. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't do gummy bears as long as it's within 30 minutes of your lap, right? Because you don't want your sugar levels to go up and then start to taper off. That wouldn't be good. I also like some kind of sports drink. Me personally, this is like a 16-ounce water bottle, like, it's the same amount of water that I'll use in a bottle on my road bike. And they say that, this is exactly 16 ounces. You want to be consuming at least one of these an hour or at least every 75 minutes, right? Okay, so that's just sipping on it throughout race day. You want to stay hydrated. And now, what do you want to put in there? Now, if you're an athlete and you're at the event, or if I'm on my road bike, I typically put a little bit of salt in here. I'll take a little bit of agave, a little bit of sugar, bam. And sometimes I'll put like a calcium magnesium pill. I'll just take the pill, split it up, boom, I got salt, calcium, magnesium, so I got the essential electrolytes, and then I have a little bit of sugar, okay, just a little bit. And I'll, shake it up and then sip on that throughout the day. Now you could just simplify that and get a sports drink, right? Gatorade tends to be really, really high in fructose and glucose, so you might want to consider diluting it. Okay, so I'd put like a little bit of Gatorade and then boom, the rest with water, same thing. Now, well, man, I mean, this has turned out, maybe I should have created another video. Hey, eating on race day, Jack. Man, great question. Post-race event, go for a normal meal, whatever you guys eat. Is it wise to eat? If it's the end of the day, if it's Sunday, you're done with racing, eat what you want. If you guys are into a burger and fries, go for it. You're into pizza, go for it. Me personally, when I was a professional, I'd keep it really clean. I like clean, lean proteins. I love chicken, and I like salmon for some reason. I had a little bit of fat, but for the most part, Those were my two go-tos personally. I like chicken and salmon. If you're a vegan, hey, listen, I don't discriminate. I've gone vegan for a while and tested it out. It's cool. I love it. It's great. Do what you normally do in terms of your regular meal. Like if you like pasta with a little bit of protein and a salad, go for it. That should be your post-meal event. And I would say, if you guys put in a lot of work and you guys feeling really tired right after the event, then definitely simple sugars will be really good once you're done, right? Me personally, I love to bring a blender to the race and actually put a banana, a little bit of protein, a little bit of sugar, put some water in there, blend it up, boom, hit it, done. Okay, that was my post-event meal. That's my post-event. Yeah, that's my post-event meal, like immediate recovery meal. And then I would go on, go to the hotel, get changed, do whatever you need to do, and then have a normal meal after that. All right, guys. I think there was one more question I was going to answer. Hopefully that helped. Thank you very much, guys. Again, Andrew and Jack bringing up what to eat. Let's see. There was one more. Darren Ross, do you absorb the transition at the bottom by stop pedaling, or do you somehow pedal through it? You got to try both. But yeah, that's a great question. You definitely want to be able to pump that transition. If you pedal through it, great, but it's really tough, especially for younger kids because they're already topped out. And so if you pedal through it and you find that it's meaningless, meaning that there's no force behind the pedal, then just go for the big pump and then just get right back on it. That's what I would do. But I would try both because you never know. Some people can pull off pedaling through the pump. Most cannot. What was the other question? Good track day routines while getting ready for nationals. Was I going to do that one? Marley says, thank you. Anyways, any pointers on the practice time at a national, like how to make the most of it on an unfamiliar track? Ooh, let's do that one. Sarah, congratulations. Thank you very much for asking the question. Sarah asked, any pointers on the practice time at a national, like how to make the most of it on an unfamiliar... Let me rephrase that question again because I like to do social media cut downs, and I have a feeling this is going to be a good one. All right, last question, and then we're done, guys. Thank you very much for showing up. Sarah asked, any pointers on the practice time at a national, like how to make the most of it at an unfamiliar... Sarah asked, any pointers on the practice time at a national, like how to make the most of practice at an unfamiliar track? Unfamiliar track. Yeah, that's a great question. So it really comes down to this. What I like to do when I show up to an unfamiliar track, first and foremost, I like to observe the track. If I can walk the track, that's great. But more than likely, I'm going to observe the track. I'm going to really scrutinize the first straight right off the hop. Hey, what's the first jump? Right? What's the first jump? How am I going to take the first jump? Okay. And then, check out, scan the track and start looking for jumps that you think that you may have trouble with. All right. You want to identify what you may feel that you need to put a little bit more attention to, especially when you get out there for practice, because sometimes 20 minutes of practice going in with hundreds of other riders, it's really tough, right? Sometimes you're only going to get 3 laps, and sometimes you guys may get more. So here's the thing. I would definitely watch practice. Okay. Number one, I would take a look at all the obstacles, identify which obstacles are going to be challenging for you. Number two, I would definitely take a look at practice. I would watch practice, watch riders, and see how they're hitting those jumps, right? See how they're hitting those obstacles. How are they taking the first jump? How is that rhythm section riding? And start taking mental notes. And that way, you guys know what to do when you go out there and you know what to expect. You kind of want to pre-program yourself as to what to expect. So identify what's going on, get a game plan, start strategically figuring out what you need to do in an effort to get through the obstacle both efficiently and effectively, right? Sounds really simple. Sometimes it's not, but I really think at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a visualization. You're trying to get your internal representation on how you're going to visualize yourself successfully going through those obstacles. I think that's really important. I'll tell you what, when I was 10 years old and I'd be flying in a plane, and at 10 years old, it's really tough because Some of the competition can jump well, some of them can't. And sometimes there's always a jump that you may have a hard time jumping. And I would be on an airplane just like daydreaming and start to wish like, man, I really hope there isn't any doubles I can't jump. And back then jumps were really, really abrupt. It was almost like Excite Bike. But, I would definitely try to identify which jumps that you think that you may have trouble with. Also, the other thing that a lot of people overlook are the turns. Take a look at the turns, see how people are taking them, seeing how deep they can actually pedal into the turn, how sharp of a tight radius they can take around the turn, and when they start pedaling. I would definitely do that. And what I like to do typically, if you guys have the time, you guys have the chance, more importantly, is I would try to take at least 3 different lines in those turns, each of the turns. Take an inside line, a middle line, and also like a mid-low line, okay? You want to be able to practice and program yourself and understand the radius, the tightest radius that you could take, the fastest line that you could take, and figure out your tire adhesion, right? You want to be able to push that, and that way you guys can race aggressively, but more importantly, aggressively with confidence, all right? Lastly, the thing that you guys want to figure out when you guys go to an unfamiliar track is the timing of the gate, of course. How the heck did I forget about that? Listen, the number one thing that you want to try to do is that you want to try to hit the gate, okay? That way you understand when you should not go. Now, today, typically, all the gates are pretty quick. They're pretty fast. They're really hard to hit, right? Everyone, for the most part, is leaving on the first light or the first horn, and they're going and reacting as fast as they can. And sometimes you may find yourself hitting the gate. So from there, you want to be able to configure your timing, because you don't want to be backing off and saying, oh, you know what, I'm just going to react like 80%. You start backing off your effort in terms of timing your gate, you're going to mistime that thing every single time. Every single time. Universal quantifier. Every single time. So you want to be able to get a gate start with a 100% all-out effort on how you have trained your ability to get out of the gate, both effectively with technique and also delivering power. Okay, so figure out that timing. Adjust the timing with the hips. You can adjust your timing by pushing the hips back if you're hitting the gate, or you could adjust the timing if you're kind of late by pushing yourself forward, pushing your hips forward, getting a little bit closer to the handlebars, and being ready to snap into that first pedal and that second pedal and not being late, and you're delivering power down the first straight. All right, guys, thank you very much for showing up for this Monday night edition of BMX Coach Live. Again, I am your host, 3-time Olympic coach Greg Romero, and I'm super honored and grateful to be your coach. Thank you guys so much for showing up and seeing your happy faces. Thank you so much for the donations. And guys, have a great week. If you guys are racing this weekend, man, you guys take these tips. Take these tips in the beginning of the video, apply them, right? Listen, knowledge is only as good as your ability to integrate it. Everything that I've given you today is 100% fully integratable. So apply it. Be compliant and apply it, right? I was telling my chiropractor today, he was really proud of me because, everything that I do, all the recommendations that he tells me to do, I apply it. Like he told me today, I need more fiber. I need to be consuming 70 different vegetables during a week. I know that's crazy, but I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to do it. So everything that, and he's not going to tell me anything that I couldn't do, right? He's not going to say you need to consume 1,000 different vegetables this week. That's not going to happen. Maybe I'd take a blender and just blend up a bunch of vegetables, but I don't have to eat those vegetables every day. I just need to be able to eat 10 different vegetables in a 7-day week. Anyways, that's fully integratable. All the information is fully integratable. So you guys integrate, be that integrated BMX racing athlete. I'll see you guys next week. You guys have a good one. We'll chat soon.